Hello everyone. So today we are going to start with Section C in CMA Part 1. The section name is Performance Management and we will be mainly dealing with variance analysis in this section. So what is variance analysis? So variance analysis is a financial tool that we are using to measure the difference between actually what happened and what we planned. Or we can say, what are the difference between the budgets what we prepared and what actually happened. So if we get these numbers, the differences, or we call it as variances, we will be able to make better decisions for the future. We will try to understand why there is deviation, why there is variance between actual and plan or actual and budget, and who is responsible for this variance and what we have to do to correct this variance. So all these things we can understand if you do a variance analysis. So here we have an example. You have a budget or you have a standard of direct material for the coming period. For example, it is $5 per unit. So you have to make a product, and to make that product you have to spend $5, or as per your standard, as per your plan, you can spend $5 for direct material for that particular product. But actually what happened, you spent $5.5 and you produced 1,000 units. So every unit you are spending $0.50 extra. That means $500 extra you spend on material. So we have to find out now why there is difference. It can be because of the price, or it can be because of the quantity. What exactly the problem is that we have to find out, that we will study in variance analysis. But before we do variance analysis, we have to discuss about standard cost system. What's a standard cost system? We can say this is the benchmark to which you will compare your actuals. So in our previous example, we have seen my actual material cost is $5.50. When I am comparing that to $5, I am telling there is $0.50 difference. So how we reach this $5? There are different ways. Maybe we used to make in the last 5 years, every time the material cost is $5. So we know that to make this product, our material cost is going to be $5. But actually we spent $5.50 this year. Okay, now we are comparing actually what we spent and what was planned to spend. So that what was planned to spend is what we call it as a standard cost. We are setting up a standard for a unit. So standard cost is carefully determined price, quantity, service level, or cost. And this is usually expressed in a per unit amount. And this will be determined even before you know about actual cost. So when you are starting the period, you will determine what should be the material cost for a single unit. So you are determining that in the beginning itself. Then once you made the products, then you will compare. My plan was to make it at $5 material cost, but material cost is increased by $0.50. So for this purpose, we should have a standard first. So that's what here, a standard cost system can be a valuable management tool. Or we can say this is a benchmark to which you will compare the actuals. And when variances arises between actual and standard cost, management become aware that costs have differed from the standard, because you set up a standard. I am supposed to make X unit at $10, but you spend $11 by end of the year. So you are comparing actual with some amount. That some amount we can call it as a standard that we set. So standards are benchmark or norms for measuring performance. And there can be standards for quantity, or there can be standards for price. For example, when you want to make product X, I need 2 units of A and 2 units of B at $2 each. So now we know that you have a standard for quantity and you have a standard for the price. And this is how you will arrive the standards. So now the material cost is going to be 2 multiplied by 2, again 2 multiplied by 2, or we can say $8 is the material cost. So we are considering here how many units of material we need and what will be the purchase cost of it. And based on that, we are setting up a standard. You can see here example. A standard cost card for 1 unit of product might look like this. So to make a product, I need A, that is the standard quantity, and in B, we will put standard price. So direct material, I need 3 kg of material. That is my standard quantity. And here, I will have my standard price for this. So the total standard cost for direct material is 12. That's what we are multiplying A and B. For direct labor, the quantity is 2.5 hours and per hour it is $14. So the total cost of labor to make 1 unit is $35. Same like that, your variable manufacturing overhead is 7.5. So the total cost of making a unit is 54.5. Now we will see what actually happened. So we have seen here standard cost is 12 for material, for labor it is 35, for overhead it is 7.5. So that is mentioned here. And what actually happened? Actual cost of material is $13. That means you spend $1 extra. Actual cost of direct labor is 36. Again, you spend $1 extra. Actual cost of variable overhead is $8 per unit. You spend here $0.5 extra, or we can say total $2.5 you spend extra. So this is what actually a variance analysis means. We will go and study in detail all the concepts of variance analysis in the coming slides. Here we have a concept called management by exception. So management by exception is a practice of examining the results of a business and only bringing the issues to the attention of the management if the results are substantially different from the budgeted or expected amount. Or we can say there can be a lot of variances in your organization and some variances are negligible, or we can say that is not significant. But there are some variances that are significant. So these significant variances should be put into the notice of the management so they can work on the correction. So variance analysis is actually enabling this management by exception. Here we can see example. A company controller may require to notify the management of those expenses that are greater than 10,000 or greater than 20% than expected. So when the amount of variance is greater than 10,000, then the company management should know about it. So actually variance analysis, when you do, you will be knowing what exactly the variances and what are the significant variance, and when there is significant variances you can put this into the attention of the top level management. This concept is what we call as management by exception. Here we have an example again. You have direct labor cost, the actual is less than the standard. These lines are the standard. Manufacturing cost is also, it is less than the standard, but you can see here direct material, it went much above the standard. So this need to be put into the notice of the management. This is the concept of management by exception. Actually variance analysis is helping us to understand the significant variances, and we can put this into the attention of the top level management. And now this is talking about how you are going to set standards. There are different ways you can set up the standards. The first one is activity analysis. So you will analyze the activities. What are the activities need to be executed, and how many people are needed for this, and how much time needed for this, and how much resources need to be consumed for this. So like this, each and every activity you will analyze. Based on that you can set up a standard. The second standard is, second method is historical data. I know last 5 years I am making a product at $10 per unit. So in past also, or in near future also, I am expecting that to be made at the same cost. So based on the historical data, I am determining the standards. Or it can be based on target costing. So target costing, in target costing what we will do is, we have a price for our product. We cannot increase the price above that. And we need a margin on this price. So we will get the cost of the product. For example, I can sell a product at $100 only. Because of the competition, I cannot increase the price. And I am expecting $20 profit. Otherwise, there is no point in doing this business. Considering my overheads and all, I should get $20 profit. So I should make the product at $80. So this is what we call as target costing. You are setting up a target price and a target margin. Then you will set up a target cost. Based on this also you can set up a target. So you set up a standard. Or you can do benchmarking. That is like you are comparing or you are finding out what is the cost of your competitor when he is making the same product. So that you can consider as the standard. So in different ways you can set up the standard. And while setting up the standard, same like budget, it can be done by two levels of, or by different levels of authorities. The one is by top level management, or we call this as authoritative standard setting. So standard is set by the top level management, and that is imposed on the lower level management or lower level, or to the employees. So this type of standard setting, the employees, they will not get a feeling of ownership of the standard. Because sometimes maybe they will feel that the standard set by the top level management is not achievable, it is unrealistic. But when it is done by the employees, that is, then we call it as participative standard setting. Here employees are involved in setting up the standard, and because of that they will feel a kind of ownership on the standards what they set, and they will try to achieve the standards in the coming activities for the year. So it can be authoritative or it can be participative. And while setting up the standards for direct materials, we have to consider three things. quality of the material, quantity, and the price. Quality, we can say, an example is like you are a shoemaker, so you will have different types of leathers, right? High quality and low quality. So based on the quality, the price is going to change. So you have to consider which quality I am going to use for this particular type of shoe. So you have to consider the quality of the product, and to make that shoe, how many meters of leather needed. That is the quantity. So you have to consider quality and quantity. Then what will be the price? What will be the quality, and what is the quantity, and what is the price? So if you consider all these things, you can set up a standard. So we can say quantity is 1 meter I need, and I need high quality leather because I am making a deluxe type of shoes. So for example, if it is $200, so you know that now a high quality leather is $200 per meter, and I need 1 meter of leather. So my standard is going to be $200 of raw material to make this particular shoes. Same like that, while establishing standards for labors, also you have to consider 3 things: quantity, quality, and price. Here quantity means how many hours we need to make a product. The quality of the labor, do we need highly skilled laborers or unskilled laborers? Because the price for each labor, each different type of labors, it is going to be different. So these 3 things we have to consider while setting up a standard for direct labors. Now this is establishing overhead standards. So this we have studied in section D in detail. The total overhead cost that you have to take first. So you have a budgetary factory overhead cost, right? So you will take that cost first. Then you will divide that by the predetermined level of activity. Then you will get POR. This we have studied in section D. Predetermined overhead rate you will get. The allocation base normally we use is direct labor hours or direct machine hours. So the direct labor hours or machine hours we will use. So we'll take the total cost. Maybe total cost is 100,000. Divide by 100,000 machine hours. So we will get an overhead standard of $1. And this allocation rate is established for full year. And this rate multiplied with your budgeted activity level, that is going to be your budgeted overhead. So $1 is the overhead cost, or POR we can say, predetermined overhead, and I'm going to spend 100,000 machine hours for an year. So what will be my cost of overhead? 100,000 multiplied with $1. So $100,000 is going to be your overhead cost for the coming period. So while determining this 100,000 machine hours, or whatever the denominator level, right? You have a cost, $100,000, you have a cost, and 100,000 machine hours you have, for example. That is how you are getting $1 of overhead rate. How about if this if this 100,000 machine hours are only 50 you are using only 50,000 machine hours. In that case, the cost of overhead, it is going to be $2, right, per unit. So how we will use, or what will be the denominator we will use? So you have actually 4 choices to determine the output level, and 2 are based on how much we can supply, and 2 are based on our demand, how many we can sell. Maybe you can supply 1 million units. You have the capacity to sell 1 million units, but do you have the demand for it? You have only an yearly demand of 500,000. Okay, so we can use 2 types of output level. One is based on supply and one is based on demand. So that is the denominator level capacity concept. So we will see here in this, these 2 are related to supply, theoretical or ideal capacity and practical capacity. So theoretical capacity, here we are assuming that there is no idle time and there is no downtime and no decreases in sales demand. If everything is perfect, maybe I can say I can produce 1 million units out of a machinery. I can supply this much. So we are expecting a perfect situation. There is no idle time, there is no downtime. But practical capacity is we are considering the downtime and idle time. So we can say if we consider the practical capacity, I can produce only 800,000 units. So this is what we call it as supply denominator level concepts. How many we can supply. Based on that, we can set up the denominator level. The other 2, the next 2, what we can see here is based on how many we can sell or what is the demand. So we can take master budget capacity utilization or normal capacity utilization. So we have a budget for the coming year, even though it is 1 million theoretically, 800,000 practically, but as per the master budget, our demand is only 600,000. So our denominator level, or our denominator in this case, is going to be only 600. This is as per our budget, based on expected demand in front of us. Now, normal capacity utilization. So this is normally considering only 1 year or 1 master budget. But normal capacity, it is actually considering the seasonal and cyclical changes in sales demand also. So what is cyclical changes? Or what is business cycle? We can say typically includes period of expansion or contraction. You have peak, you have lowest point of decline. So economy can expand, it can reach into its peak, or it can contract, or it can go through real tough situations. So over the period of time, so here we are considering long term, maybe 4 or 5 years. If we consider what will be our budget every year, and we will take average of all these 4 years, that is what actually normal capacity means. So your denominator level, you can take theoretical or practical, that is based on supply, then master and normal capacity, master budget and normal capacity. These 2 are based on how much you can sell or what's your demand.